200 milhões de pessoas usam a Uber todo mês em viagens pelo mundo todo. Nos Estados Unidos, algumas dessas viagens já estão sendo feitas com robotáxis, aqueles carros autônomos que não precisam de um motorista. E a promessa é que esse tipo de serviço seja oferecido pela Uber mundo afora. Para discutir o futuro do transporte urbano com robôs e outros temas, eu e o repórter Pedro Teixeira recebemos hoje no programa C-Level Dara Kosvolshari, presidente global da Uber desde 2017. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for this interview, Dara.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
So, Dara, Uber reported fourth quarter earnings recently, last month, and it posted growth in trips, in revenue, net income. So I'm curious about Brazil.
Brazil is an incredibly important part of the earnings that we reported last quarter and really for the past couple of years. Brazil for us has been a huge growth engine. It's actually surprising for many technology companies or global tech company, but Brazil in terms of the number of trips, transactions, is our top country as it relates to mobility. Top country in the whole world, bigger than the US.
Wow.
S.Paulo, where we are now, is the world's largest city in terms of trips. And so Brazil is a huge contributor to our business, to the growth of the business, and continues to be incredibly important strategically for us. And we continue to lead into Brazil. And it's not just the size of the business as well, but we're also investing in our talent base. So one of the areas that we're most proud of is that we have started a technology center in Brazil, in Sao Paulo. We're extending it to Rio now. We're investing over 2 billion reais in technology. We've got about 500 engineers now. We're going to double that footprint over the next couple of years. And these engineers, they're building feature sets, not just for Brazil, but they're building feature sets that show up in the Uber service all over the world. So just one example is we have a feature now for safety. Safety is incredibly important for us. That allows a woman rider to choose, say, I prefer to be driven by a woman driver. And the same thing for a woman driver, to say, I prefer to have a woman rider. That's it's one of our most popular products that we have launched in the past year. That was built by Brazilian engineers right here in Sao Paulo.
Can you give us some numbers, like in terms of trips and users?
We have over 2 million earners now in Brazil. They are either driving four-wheelers or two-wheelers. That number continues to increase. And we estimate that in Brazil, over 85% of the population of Brazil has used Uber one way or the other. It's by far the highest. I would say that most developed markets, let's say United States or UK or France, they're closer to the 40-50% range.
Brazilian lawmakers, they are debating kind of a minimum wage and social security rights for app-based workers. What is Uber's position on this new legislation?
We do think that comprehensive legislation that gives app workers and our drivers protections and rights. Social Security, for example, we think that we should pay into the Social Security fund. Minimum wage, our drivers earn substantially higher than the minimum wage. So we have, in many countries, have actually legislation that is in effect that provides app workers with protections as it relates to social protections or minimum rights, while at the same time recognizing the fact that we're a technology platform and retaining the autonomy of app workers.
Is the intermediary model that Uber is using right now non-negotiable for Uber? Like if the government imposes that these workers might be directly hired?
I think it would be highly unfortunate for the workers, and it would cause prices to rise very, very significantly all around the country, and the business will get much smaller. What I want to be clear is that we're here in Brazil, and Uber is going to be in Brazil, and we will follow the laws, and we will have a constructive relationship with government, even if we disagree. We're committed to the country. This is a permanent home for us. But we think that kind of an outcome would be a giant mistake. our drivers don't support it. It would result in the service getting much more expensive. There's no reason to go back to work that was the model of work of 50 years ago.
You said price could get higher. How much higher they could get?
Well, I think if some of the proposals that we've seen, prices could increase by 50, 60%, which would reduce essentially the number of drivers who could be on the platform. So not only would it be terrible for consumers, but the number of drivers on the platforms could decrease as well. But I will say that I'm optimistic that this better way, flexibility for drivers and protection for drivers can move forward, and prices and availability of Uber can continue to improve so that we can be affordable and available for everybody who wants transportation in Brazil.
And changing of subject, Uber has announced recently collaborations with Wave, Nissan, NVIDIA about robotaxis. But Waymo, which is a Google-backed company, had a head start on this matter. Can Uber compete with them?
You know, the first thing I tell you is that Waymo is a great partner of ours. So in Houston and Austin, actually, if you use Uber, we may match you with a Waymo on Uber. If there's a Waymo close by and it makes sense, we will dispatch, we will first show you, we'll say, hey, you're being dispatched to a Robotaxi, a Waymo. Do you want to take the ride or not? 80% of people say yes. 20% say no, I'd rather be driven by a human, etc. There are certain markets where Waymo has their own proprietary app as well. So we both work with them and to some extent compete with them. At the same time, the Robotaxi, the promise of autonomous driving can be a very, very large marketplace. These drivers can make the streets much safer. They don't text, they don't get tired, they don't get distracted. They have many cameras, they've got LiDAR, they've got radar. So ultimately, the safety of our streets will improve as these autonomous vehicles expand.
And are robotaxis coming to Brazil anytime
I
soon?
think Brazil, I don't think anytime soon, but eventually, if you think about in 10 years, there will be some robotaxis on the road.
What are the specific regulatory and connectivity challenges to bring it here in Brazil?
I think the most important regulatory area to focus on is safety. Obviously, the streets of Brazil are unique in terms of traffic, and you have to make sure that the robotaxi is properly trained on the streets of Brazil, including all the traffic laws dealing with construction, etc. And then obviously data security and privacy is another very, very important issue. So those are usually the top two issues as we talk to governments. And again, we have time. We don't think this is a technology that should be rushed to market, so to speak.
Dara, you are from Iran. We have to ask you this question.
Of course.
Now there is a conflict in Iran with the US. How do you see that? And you left the country when you were very young.
Yeah, so honestly, I'm very split on this. You know, on the one hand, I think that the loss of life in Iran is tragic. There's a lot of infrastructure that has been built over many, many years that's getting hit, and that can hurt real lives, you know, people having electricity, hot water, etc. So from that standpoint, I think it's very difficult to see what's happening there. On the other hand, I think the Islamic regime, who has been running the country over the past 47 years, 48 years, hasn't been serving the people of Iran. You know, the Iranian culture isn't just about Islam. Islam's a big part of the Iranian culture, but this is a culture that was pre-Islamic. It's got incredible arts. It's got incredible talent. The education system in Iran is very, very strong. And I think the Iranian people and the Iranian culture deserves to be a part of the world. So my hope is that there's some change in regime, but that change can happen peacefully one way or the other. I don't know how we get there. And so as I speak to my mom, as I speak to my family, all of us are very conflicted because absolutely we want change, but we don't want human lives lost because of that change. And right now, unfortunately, it's a very, very difficult situation.
Was it the last time you went there?
Oh, I haven't gone back. I left the country when I was 9 years old. My father went back, actually. His father was quite sick, was at his deathbed. For my father went back to be with his father. My grandfather got well, and actually we were able to bring him to the U.S. But my father was trapped in Iran for 6 years. They wouldn't let him out. So that experience kind of conditioned us not to go back to Iran while this regime is in power. I really hope one day to go back.
So thank you so much
Thank
for
you. I
your
really
time.
appreciate it.
It was a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Nice meeting you guys.
Thank you, Dara.
Really appreciate it.